Hey YouTube, Pheano here with segment 5 of Perfecting Blackwings. This is going to be the basics part 5, and I'll be explaining why Blackwings are relevant every format. These are two cards that really made it so Blackwings can compete in pretty much any format aside from their core support. The first up is Oppression. Blackwings is one of the few meta decks that aren't anti-meta base that can run Oppression, which may not seem like a big deal, but it is. I mean, a lot of their cards get around Oppression, like Value. Yeah, if you didn't know that, Value is not a cost. So you can say, I'll activate Value, and if you have Oppression out, they can play Oppression and try to negate the value, but since it's not a cost to remove value in your grave, you can just activate the value again and again and again. Similar to Treeborn Frog, they negate the frog, it'll just come back again. And also Shura gets around it, because that's during the damage step. So the only thing, if you have a Black Whirlwind out, Blizzard will also get around Oppression, though then you can't Synchro, because Synchros will still be negated by that. But they get around Oppression very easily, and then there's the old tactic that's always been good. Get out a bunch of crap and then play the Oppression, so you don't need to special summon anymore, because you already have your cards you want to special summon out. That was the principle that Oppression Dad was based off of, and a lot of decks. You'll see Sabers play Oppression because they can go all out and play their swarm with the fall trolls and everything, and they're pretty much set. They don't need to special summon anymore. It'll be nice, but they don't need to. They pretty much have the game right there. Then they play the Oppression, and it seals you out of getting around their swarm, pretty much. Except now we have Dark Hole for that, but we didn't have that before. Anyways, Oppression, really good card. Just got limited. That hurts a bit for Blackwings, because they did need that. That was one of the reasons that GB's always had such a hard time with Blackwings. Both of these cards are the reason GB has such a hard time with Blackwings. Anyways, but if you look at the top decks that as of late, I believe at the Nationals, Nationals, 2 Blackwing decks topped, and neither one of them mained 2 Oppressions. I believe they were both using 2 Oppressions, but one of them wasn't playing Oppression at all in the main, and one was only playing 1 in the main. So it doesn't hurt too much. It was just kind of like a neat trick. The deck still has Skill Drain for that, which is also good in the deck, because like Oppression, that gets around Skill Drain very nicely. Clute, that gets around Skill Drain. Value gets around Skill Drain. A lot of their monsters are just really big, so they don't need their effects too much. The only ones that really hurts would be like Blizzard, Shura, and Gale, I guess, because you can't use their effects, but you can still special summon Gale. Blizzard, you're probably going to side out of 1 or 2, depending on how many you're playing, and Shura, you just use that before the skill drain goes off, and then, like Oppression, you just lock them down so they can't do too much under that. Very good in Blackwings because of how big their monsters are. For the same with going with Oppression, very good because the monsters are so big that you just can't get in there. And with all the removal Blackwings have, it's just very easy to camp on the position. Next up, their best removal card, Icarus Attack. Not a lot of decks can play this. Only other deck that really can play this would be like, what, Mist Valley? Who gives a shit about Mist Valley? This is the only competitive deck that can play Icarus Attack. Icarus is tribute a winged beast monster to destroy 2 cards in the field. You can't target itself with its effect. You used to be able to, but when Blackwings got good and Icarus started getting played, they changed the ruling so that you can't do that, because that was kind of gay. Another reason that GB has a hard time with Blackwings, because the removal power of Icarus is just so good. These 2 cards make it so that the deck inherently has no bad matchups, because it'll have an answer for between its Synchros and these 2 cards. It'll pretty much have an answer for every single situation. This last format, Blackwings didn't have any bad matchups. Not one. It may not have been a top deck or anything, but I mean, there were no like decks that you just kind of auto lose to, like GB that auto loses to Blackwings. Blackwings didn't have that. The closest thing to that was X-Sabers. It didn't have a good matchup against X-Sabers. It wasn't a bad matchup. It just wasn't like, I have a good one because of my removal and everything. Like, the Cold Wave play would just kind of make things messy. But that goes for every single deck, because, I mean, everyone uses removal in the form of spells and traps. But that doesn't mean that Blackwings had a bad matchup, because you could just wait for them to... This is what I always did. I'd always wait for them to drop the Cold Wave while playing really conservative. I'd survive the turn, and then I'd drop a Blizzard and just kind of go nuts on their field, either Baronic everything, or a lot of times people would drop Baronic on me under Cold Wave and Sabers, so I just drop my Goyo, steal their Baronic, and then pop some stuff. So it just, between those two cards, it just made it so Blackwings could handle any situation. I can't really think of any situation that between these two cards that, like, you know, in a relevant meta, that they can't handle. Like, I guess a hard matchup for the deck would be FTKs, but that'd be said for any deck, because there's not a whole lot that you can do when you don't get a turn. Though Effect Veiler now kind of removes FTKs from the relevant meta, I believe that's why Frog FTK wasn't good in the OCG. Not in Worlds, the OCG, because at Worlds, it wasn't OCG meta, it was a combined meta of what both metas had access to, so they removed any OCG and TCG exclusives, meaning there were no threats to frogs. They couldn't Trishula spam you, because that was the best thing they had going for them in the OCG. They could spam 5 Trishula turn 1. That's pretty devastating. It's not an FTK, but might as well be. I mean, Sabers can't drop 5 2500s and nuke your hand and grave if you have one, and field if you have one. But I mean, this is during the first turn, so they're not going to probably be doing that. So yeah, these two cards will always make it so the Blackwings will be relevant, because it makes it so they can handle any situation in the game. That and their synchros, because that's one of the great parts about synchros, is as soon as you are able to synchro, you can pick any card out of your 15 cards, pretty much, and be able to tackle a situation. So, you're staring down a destruction-based deck, you got your Stardust. Handling something that's got a lot of battle-based stuff, you got the Colossal Fighter. You got a deck that targets, you got Thought Ruler. And then you just got general removal ones like Dark End, Scrap Dragon, Infernity Doom Dragon, Baronic, Catastor, I guess, Black Rose. Black Rose is at 3 now, so that means you have even more removal. I think this has gone on long enough of me saying why Blackwings will always be relevant. Stay tuned for my next video.